From the world's emptiest airport, which was eventually used as a warehouse to store rice, to an abandoned stadium in the heart of the Amazon rainforest, and from a massive hotel in one of the least visited countries in the world to a revolutionary science project that ended up wasting billions of dollars. In today's video, we bring you some of the most useless megaprojects in the world. And this is the first part of the video. Number 5. Brazil's controversial stadium in the rainforest. Brazil famously hosted the 2014 Football World Cup, and for a country so obsessed with the sport, it was a big deal. However, the country needed a lot of renovations to be ready for the showpiece event. Brazil had to build 12 new football stadiums and renovate some old ones. This massive megaproject was going to cost Brazil a total of $11 billion, and despite the immense cost, the country was looking forward to showing its passion for the sport to the whole world. But as in many countries that host a World Cup, these massive megaprojects are not necessarily economically viable in the long run. Critics and economic consequences are often overlooked to deliver the best show possible for the World Cup. In many ways, the whole project didn't make any economic sense. But the most obvious was the construction of the Arena da Amazônia in Manaus, which took 4 years to build and cost around $250 million. The structure itself was no easy task. Manaus is Brazil's 7th largest city in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. This remote location poses complex challenges in moving large amounts of goods. Many materials used for the stadium's construction were shipped from Portugal and navigated through the Amazon River. This entire journey took 3 weeks, which made the construction process more costly. But the problems with this megaproject ran much more profound. After all the effort and money to build this stadium, it only hosted 4 matches at the World Cup. The revenue generated from these few games was obviously nowhere near the spending. After the 4 World Cup games, the stadium was rarely used. The local clubs simply don't have enough fan base to fill out the 40,000-seat arena every week. Besides, many residents can't afford the tickets to attend a game. So for the local clubs, the maintenance cost and the rent for the stadium outweigh the total revenue. The stadium was again used for a few competitions, like the 2016 Olympic Games. But as with the 2014 World Cup, it was only needed for a few days. It hasn't been used for many events ever since and is only a reminder of how the money to build it could have changed the lives of many Manaus residents. Number 4. China's abandoned ghost cities. China's rise as a significant economic power in the early 2000s was accompanied by a real estate boom. Megaprojects sprung up all over the country, and its many big cities became home to some of the world's most famous skyscrapers. However, not all these projects were a success. In fact, China has accumulated plenty of ghost cities that cost billions to build but have primarily remained empty. For today's video, we turn to China's Hebei province, home to one such project. The Xiangyun International Project is an 1,800-acre development in Shijiazhuang, dubbed a city within a city. The project consisted of 2 parts, developed at $3 billion. A more extensive high-end residential community with apartments and theme parks, and a smaller commercial hub containing shopping complexes and skyscrapers. The project's location is very convenient as it is built right next to a high-speed train stop and close to underground metro stations. This location isn't isolated like some other projects featured in this series. So how did this enormous project end up abandoned with almost no population? When the project was first announced, there was a lot of positive excitement. 700 housing units were quickly sold, but in 2014, the construction was stopped abruptly as the real estate company behind the project was put under investigation by the local authorities. By 2017, the corruption charges were proven, and the leading developer landed in jail. Consequently, the property prices sharply declined, and the company declared bankruptcy. As of now, thousands of homeowners have not been able to move in because the government confiscated the project. The half-finished development remains unused today, and the already developed areas have started deteriorating. Strangely, Traffic can be heard roaring across the streets just outside the district, but inside it paints a picture of a ghost town inhabited only by stray animals. These days the Xiangyun International Project is more of a tourist attraction than residential development. It is often visited by YouTubers fascinated by such a vast abandoned site who want to tell its story. There's no official indication that the project will resume anytime soon, and it looks like this $3 billion megaproject will only be visited by adventurers. Number 3. The world's emptiest airport in 2009. The island nation of Sri Lanka had just ended its deadly civil war. The victorious President Mahinda Rajapaksa immediately made plans to give the country an economic push. At the time, the country's biggest city, Colombo, was the only city with an international airport. However, that was about to change as the president envisioned a second commercial hub in the Hambanoda region, located 250 kilometers from the former capital. This region was already experiencing a massive construction boom, and a new seaport was built there with the help of China, a partner willing to invest billions into infrastructure projects. Number 2. America's largest failed science project. We start today's list with one of the largest physics megaprojects in history. When completed, the superconducting supercollider in Texas would consist of a circular tunnel system around Waxahachie that would serve as the world's most energetic particle accelerator. Particle accelerators use electric fields to accelerate charged particles to very high speeds. They are used for research purposes and help scientists unearth the mysteries of our universe. Particle accelerators have been around since the 1930s, and as of today, about 30,000 of these have been built around the world. However, none of them come close to producing as much energy as the superconducting supercollider planned to be built in Texas in the 1980s. Design calculations for the SSC began in 1983, and the Reagan administration approved the project in 1987. The project found massive support in Texas due to its wide range of applications and the hope of scientific supremacy. But while the plans for the project looked promising, reality painted a different picture. As it turned out, a project of this scale faced many unsolved challenges, eventually leading to the point where the whole project had to be reconsidered. But what exactly happened? As with many failed megaprojects, the biggest roadblock was the budget overrun the SSC accumulated over the years. According to initial estimates, the whole project was to be completed at the cost of $4.4 billion. However, the project's magnitude made it impossible to stay within the allocated budget. The SSC's ring would have a circumference of over 87 kilometers, meaning that a tunnel of that proportion would become one of the longest tunnels in the world and completely surround the town of Waxahachie. That involved a massive civil engineering project excavating millions of tons of soil. Questions about the project's viability were raised from the construction site. Many politicians and scientific community members contended that the money could be better spent elsewhere. NASA was already working on the proposal to launch the International Space Station and required as many funds as possible. By 1992, the estimated costs had already ballooned up to $9 billion, and the case against the project was getting stronger. A year later, in 1993, the cost estimates had soared to $11 billion. By that time, $2 billion had already been spent on the project to dig up a tunnel extending up to 22 kilometers in circumference. With rising costs, the government finally decided to pull the plug on the superconducting supercollider. Since the 22 kilometers of tunnels were not in use, they were intentionally filled with water as a way to preserve them. While the United States canceled the SSC, the efforts to build a high-energy particle collider continued in Europe. In 2008, the European Organization for Nuclear Research successfully built the Large Hadron Collider. It was completed at just $5 billion and lies in a 27-kilometer tunnel near Geneva. Meanwhile, a chemical manufacturing company now occupies parts of the SSC site in Waxahachie. The SSC was an epic project that would shape the United States in the field of particle physics. But it turned out to be way too ambitious at the time and ended up costing billions of dollars without any results. Number 1. The most useless hotel in the world. Next on the list is the tallest unoccupied building in the world, also known as North Korea's Tower of Doom. North Korea isn't too keen on hosting tourists. The state's policy of secrecy and the state's regulation of any interaction between the locals and the foreigners means the country isn't a major tourist attraction. However, this reluctance to host tourists wasn't always there. Because in the 1980s, North Korea, fueled by its rivalry with South Korea, planned to host thousands of foreign visitors in the world's tallest hotel. South Korea, backed by the United States, had won the hosting rights to the 1988 Olympics. Moreover, a South Korean state firm finished building Singapore's tallest hotel worldwide. Not to be left behind, North Korea won the hosting rights of the 1989 World Festival of Youth. The country broke ground on a unique pyramid-shaped hotel in Pyongyang's capital a year later. At the height of 330 meters, the Rugong Hotel would surpass the hotel built by South Korea to become the tallest hotel of the time. North Korea had planned to inaugurate the hotel on the eve of the festival. However, due to engineering problems, the construction couldn't be completed in time. Funnily enough, it is actually not finished to this day. The hotel's height finally topped out in 1992. However, the project's financial backer, the Soviet Union, no longer existed. The financial support dried up, and the project stalled. At this point, the Rugong Hotel was just a hollowed-out concrete structure with no windows or construction beyond the outer walls. Construction remained halted for 16 years until an Egyptian company took over the project. By 2012, they installed a glass facade and LEDs to the building's exterior for $180 million. North Korea's new political problems meant the renewed efforts didn't last long either, and the building was abandoned again. It is estimated that the completion of the Rugong Hotel will cost upwards of $2 billion, about 5% of North Korea's total GDP. No official information is available on the project's progress, and a resumption seems very unlikely for a country with a lack of money like North Korea. What is your opinion about these mega projects? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.